Alright everybody, we're back again, full force here with another video. This one's going to be kind of going over the MIDI. I had a couple questions regarding, what the MIDI path was for everything. How am I changing the Boogie amps channels? Well, that one will cost you. No, just kidding. Anyway, I'll kind of show you the routing process that I have for all my MIDI controls. The main thing is this Ground Control Pro here by Voodoo Lab. Digital Music Corp used to make it, or maybe still does, but somehow merged with Voodoo Lab, whatever. I'm not trying to be a sales brochure here anyway. So let's get started. It's kind of like this out goes in to the pedal in of the GCX. The GCX out, actually through. Everything goes through. So the through of the GCX goes into the G major. Okay, and then from the G major, there's a chord back there and the mess of shit that goes into this Marshall, through the Marshall, and then the big question is the boogie here. Get off my arse and show you here. I have another Voodoo Lab thing going on back here. Hopefully I can kind of show you it. Let me try to position. So, right there, it's a Voodoo Lab selector, and that guy goes into that. From that, it comes all the way back down behind the rack to the whammy, and that's basically my whole spiel when it comes to the MIDI. And if I were to include that Randall there, which I was using it as amp 4, but 4 amps, I know that's freaking awesome, but I gotta lug this crap around. It's not fun. So, but when I'm dorking around, if I use that, then I just kind of put a cord in between, and there you have it, and then just a cable from number 4, that amp selector, and go over to that the Randall. I'm sorry, it sounds like a Marshall. Anyhow, it's a whole nother story, guys. But anyway, let's see, the amp selector though, it has all in the Boogie. It's got your channel 2, 3, your solo, and your EQ. So I have all 4 of those. And just kind of like relay switches on the back of that unit, and that's basically it. It's got 4 ins. It kind of acts like this GCX in a way, so you can kind of toggle between the 4 or control it MIDI. I'd suggest looking it up. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like the one of those little effects gizmos from one of those companies out there. It slips by my mind right now, but it's kind of the same principle. So then what it does is on the ground control here, if I get into, let's say, like a patch, my MIDI channels, like, number 1 is my Randall. I also have an MP1 ADA. That's 2, 3 is nothing. 4 would be my tri-axis. 5 is nothing. 6 is my whammy, 7 is my JMP1, and G major is 8. And then if anybody that knows about this ground control mixed with the GCX, they are brothers hand in hand. So you can expand up to 4 GCX units, I believe, and with that Voodoo Lab MIDI selector, what happens is you kind of expand it to GCX number 2, and right now with my crunch patch I have 2, which constitutes as 3, channel 3 on my Boogie. So Like number 1 would, if I took 2 off, hit 1, that's gonna, for whatever reason, it selects channel 2. If I turn off both of them, it goes to 1. So again, it would be if I hit 1, that switches it to channel 2, because by default, I want to say there's a switch in the back of the boogie. You know, I keep it at, by default, channel 1. So obviously on the back too, with those relays, there is no channel 1 to have your 4 cables come off of. So it's kind of like a channel 2, 3, solo, and EQ. So that's kind of the same thing here. If I don't select anything, I'm default to channel 1. And then clicking on 1 is channel 2. Clicking on 2 is channel 3. Clicking on 3 is the solo boost. Channel 4 is clicking out the EQ. And that's pretty much that. So pretty cool stuff. Same with the Randall though. It's kind of crazy with that. I think it expands to GCX3 if I were using that. And in the manual for the Randall, for the RM100 series, it's kind of cool. Like apparently with a GCX, I'm probably rambling because I'm not exactly sure, but it wants to expand to that, and then you can switch in between, you know, your 3 channels instead of using another MIDI switch, which is kind of cool because that thing is a MIDI amplifier, which is pretty cool. When it comes to this Randall here, I haven't really experimented too much with any other modules, except the 3 that come with the KH version. And if I do a little review about that right now, I think the KH1 and the KH3 are ultra badass. The KH2 I find to be real boomy. Maybe it's because I'm using a Marshall, like a T set, like the T75s. It could sound really badass with V30s or, you know, greenbacks or something. But I find if I use channel 2, I got a little green stomp box up there. That's a regular reissue TS808 Tube Screamer by Ibanez. I have to throw that in the front of it. It sounds pretty good that way with the gain, overdrive, whatever, to about 830 and everything else at about noon. But it sounds good. But the 3rd channel on there, I mean, I've been doing, like, if I take my rig over to our rehearsal space, generally I've been kind of using that. Up top there is a line 6 Pod X3 live in the bag, and I just kind of throw that MIDI in there, and sometimes I'll just leave it on channel 1 and let the pod do its thing, because I got some pretty cool patches on there for, you know, doing a little Metallica business. If I play real small venues and stuff, and I just don't feel like being He-Man and lugging all this crap around, I will use that with any combination of amps. I even sometimes use this 290. You know, it's in a 4-space rack just sitting on top of this 12-space rack, and I'll use that with the Pod X3, and it sounds awesome. I got a perfectly scooped sound that's great for old school Metallica and whatnot, and it's got a little bit of a death metal edge to it, but, you know, that's just being nerdy. Otherwise, like I said, I use that Randall, and sometimes I'll select between actually using the actual distortion on that head, or I'll let the Pod X3 do its thing. But anyway, enough rambling. So hopefully that clarified a couple things for you. You know, I'm always down for some questions. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. So like I said, next couple videos will be actually listening to some of this stuff, and I'll actually give you some settings to a couple of my patches, and hope it helps you out or pisses you off or whatever it is. And, you know, why don't you use this instead of this? Well, you know, can't have it all. So, alright guys, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you later.